Hello, welcome to the Countryside Kitchen Meets, a food and farming podcast. I'm Milly Fyfe, your host. I'm a mum of two, farmer's wife, food producer, and passionate about flying the flag for British food and farming. Today, I'll be chatting to butcher, curer, teacher, and consultant, Rich Summers. Then I've got a few time-saving hacks when it comes to mealtime preparation, meaning you can juggle family life with the children and cook a tasty, nutritious meal too. Okay, let's introduce you to my guest. Rich Summer has worked in the British meat industry for over 30 years and has gained an appreciation of the finest quality British livestock and game, along with an admiration for those who dedicate their time to producing it. Drawing upon his experience as a butcher, charcuterie, I can never say that word.
Neither can I.
Slaughterman and occasional stockman, he has developed a forensic knowledge of ethically farmed and humanely slaughtered livestock and the importance of how these factors influence meat quality and in turn a healthy and balanced human diet. Rich has now become a well-respected industry figure by using his vast knowledge of whole carcass butchery, which has allowed him to produce a range of innovative value-added products ranging from cured and cooked meats, pies and ready meals, smoked meat products, along with salamis and whole muscle air-dried meats. I first met Rich 8 years ago when I attended a pig in a day course he was teaching. We've stayed in touch ever since, and I'm delighted to welcome him to this podcast today. Hello, Rich.
Hey, morning, Milly. How are you? You okay?
I'm all right. Are you?
Good to see you. Yeah, very well. Very well, thank you.
Ace. So tell me about your background. Where have you come from and where are you going?
Okay, well, I'm a Leicester lad, born and bred. Not really from a rural background, really, sort of a bit more of an urban background, really quite a modest one. But I've always had a draw to the countryside in one way or another. Got caught messing about in the farmer's field on the way home from school when I was 13. And back in the 80s, it was traditional to get a clip round the ear from the farmer. And then another one when you got dragged home to see your mum. The farmer and my mother conspired to create me a little part-time job. So on the way home from school, I would go and feed around the sheep, pigs, etc., and do a little bit of general labouring around the farm. Now, it transpired that the guy that I was doing some work for had a brother who had a butcher's shop and a slaughterhouse attached to it. And I just basically rose up through the ranks, I suppose, as a washing up kid and worked in lairage, and it progressed on from there to making sausages and so on and so forth. They offered me the opportunity to do an apprenticeship about the age of 14. So they sort of started schooling me a little bit more whilst I was still at school. Left school at 16 and just worked my way up through the business I was working with, probably till I was 19, 20. Then took some management positions on. So over the years, I've worked for catering butchers that supply things like pubs and restaurants, larger throughput meat plants and so on, and large supermarket meat and deli departments. Probably around about 15 to 16 years ago, I had left large throughput meat plants. The way that food production was going, the over-industrialisation of it just meant that we were on piecework initially, so you get paid for it every forequarter of beef you boned out. As the terms changed with that particular business, they then stopped the piecework and put you on a salary. And to sort of compensate for the fact that you probably weren't taking as much money home, they allowed you to finish earlier. So when the job was done, you would go home. That then created a chance for me to go out and do a little bit of cashing hand work for farmers, kind of breaking down carcasses for them and so on. Some of my farmers market set up. And that reconnected me back to the land again. And I thought, do you know what, this is for me. One of the people that I was doing a bit of part-time work for said, stop messing about doing this bit for me. Come and help me set a farm shop up properly. And I did that. Unfortunately, that job came to a finish after a couple of years due to one or two unforeseen circumstances. I was unemployed, fairly short notice, and instead of going to the job centre, I just knocked a few doors and said, do you want a bit of help a couple of days a week. From that, the freelance butchery service was born. It then transpired that because I've always been a student of kind of meat tech and food farming, that sort of a thing, I knew a bit more than I thought I did. So offering advice, I found I could charge a little bit more for. Around the same sort of time, I was approached by the School of Artisan Food to work as a technician on their newly formed butchery and charcuterie course, which I did. One or two tutors on that course that couldn't commit to the long-term teaching there, unfortunately had to pull out, and I ended up kind of teaching from experience. I was then mentored by another tutor that I was working with there, brilliant guy called Chris Morby, who I'm still very good friends with now. And he helped me develop kind of my own style, if you like, really. So after that, I guess consultancy kind of took off. The demand for learning to produce charcuterie that we developed probably about 7 or 8 years ago took off. So from there, I've been helping to set up new businesses from scratch. I go into meat plants on occasion to help develop product ranges or improve efficiency. But generally, I'd like to work with smaller ethical producers and help them develop short, more profitable supply chains. That I've tried to cram into.
You've done a brilliant job.
It's quite diverse, but that's kind of.
You've really painted a picture. Absolutely. No, you've really been on a journey, and ethically produced meat is very much at the heart of what you do. And I mean, in terms of provenance, how important is that to you?
It's critical, and there's that old adage, you can't polish a turd. It is what it is, I need to know, particularly for things like charcuterie and certainly salami. It's vital I know where it's from, how old it is, what it's been eaten on, what it's been fed on, what it's been finished on, how it's been dispatched, how it's been slaughtered, how old it is, what the pH levels of the meat are, and so on and so forth, which I can't get if I'm buying cuts of meat from a supermarket. I think supermarket meat, even if it's British, because of those long, spurious supply chains, can be an awful lot older before they've even reached the supermarket shelf. So the problem with that is, obviously, the older the meat is, the less fresh it is, the more of a reduced shelf life you've got to begin with that. So that's absolutely vital. I mean, British first, and always British for me, because, I'm prepared to argue the case with anybody, but we have the most ethical livestock rearing, producing, the most ethical slaughter system in the developed world, bar none. So animal welfare standards are up there. So if it's not been produced in Britain, doesn't go in my mouth or the kid's mouth or anything like that. So that's where we are with that, but vital to me.
No, absolutely. But also on eating quality as well, isn't it? It's not you're looking at the whole carcass and then adding value, but also, sure. I mean, a lot of people are very price driven, aren't they? And, I think in what you're trying to achieve as well, it's being able to make British produce accessible to everybody on all sorts of budget. And I mean, in terms of your what is the idea behind the new business? Because I see it, and I interview lots of people that are producing on farm and need that little bit of extra help. And I know you've told me a few stories about, the difference that you can make in terms of the amount of money from a carcass.
It's a simple matter of economics, really. I mean, I wasn't great at maths when I was a kid, and I still struggle a bit now. However, during all these years and working at just about every level throughout the whole of the supply chain, I mean, farmers that produce beef animals now, I think, are getting around about £1,000 a carcass, something like that, revenue, selling into kind of your larger processors. Now, if we're to take that forward a little bit further, so if I'm, say, a butcher, I've got a butcher shop, I buy a carcass of beef, it's going to cost me maybe £1,500. If I then cut that up into fresh meat cuts, my financial return, ensuring that my retail prices are affordable and in line with where they should be, I can probably look to return about £3,300 of financial return. That's bearing in mind they sell every little bit of that carcass, which is difficult in this day and age. There's a desirability for certain sections more than others. Now, fortunately, the bits that aren't massively popular, kind of the lesser premium steak cuts and kind of roasting joints and so on and so forth, are perfect for making value-added products with, right?
Yeah.
So if I am to, say, dry age all of your prime steak meat, you'll use your suspects, your ribeyes, your sirloins, your rumps, fillets, etc. Sell those at a reasonable price and take everything else and create a range of nutritionally balanced ready meals, charcuterie products, all manner of cooked and cured and everything else. The combined retail value of all of those items is somewhere in the region of £7,000. That's before we've even started to look at things like bone broth and rendered animal fats for then cooking, which we can also sell as well. And then again, I know it's not typically food, but that's before we've even looked at tanning of hides, and all of that kind of thing as well. So with those increased returns, you are able to keep the retail prices reasonable, affordable to a lot more people. But along with that, in terms of processing, you're going to need an awful lot more in the way of labour and higher skilled labour, particularly when it comes to the production of things like, salami and whole muscle air dried meats. The understanding of food science and food tech and food safety is vital to that. So you then reach a point where not only is food available for an awful lot of people, but you're also increasing social mobility and the fact that you're creating higher paid jobs. And this will never be something that we can do kind of nationally. No, this, in my opinion, has to happen kind of regionally. So farmers working together. I know we were having a bit of a discussion about cooperatives, which can be a little bit of a scary word for some in farming. I know, so I use the word sparingly, but there's efficiencies of scale when it comes to buying equipment or feed or kind of something like that. So again, because of these increased amounts of revenue, it does create an awful lot more in the way of opportunity. And what I'm aiming to do is I'm aiming to help small and medium-sized ethical and certainly regenerative farming systems get to a point where they can be really, really profitable. I don't really like the way that some of the industry is going, where organic or kind of regen is an exclusive product. I think that makes it a little elitist. And if we are looking to promote more ethical, regenerative forms of farming, it needs to be the mainstream. But if we're only selling to a small group of wealthy individuals, it's never going to be mainstream. So really, all the answers are there for us, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And like you say, you don't want it to be an elitist product, because then you're almost shaming working class parents or people in general that what they're feeding their kids is muck. And actually you want it to be accessible to everybody and to be able to afford it. And when I post and I say about backing British farming and buy British and eat local and things like that, a lot of people say to me, oh God, I just I might be able to afford it once in a while. I mean, once in a while is absolutely fine, but in terms of what you're trying to achieve is absolutely fantastic, because it is bridging that gap between the rich and the not and those that are scraping by to to be able to feed their family. So I think being able to provide good quality, well raised animals that we know the full supply chain, and we can be confident in that, and it tastes really good as well. I think that can only be a positive.
Yeah, completely. I think I love what you're doing in terms of your little broadcasts with making dishes, making them more accessible for people to learn. I think that's a fantastic thing. And I also think that combining that with producing convenience meals that don't have crap in, that are nutritionally balanced, we not only are we promoting British ethical farming, we're also improving human health, reducing the burden on the National Health Service. So it's kind of the kind of previous government. I'm not going to make it political, but previous governments were kind of willing to allow crap into human diet and not say anything about it. All I'm suggesting is we remove it, not say anything about it. I mean, I make things like turkey twizzlers and kind of meat dinosaur things with the breadcrumb on. I've always done that for the kids. And if it's crunchy on the outside, soft on the inside, you can hide anything you like in it, really. It just saves all that battling during tea time. So if we just remove all of that crap from him, and I like fast food, okay. So the idea is to live in a world where it is impossible to buy bad quality fast food. Well, I'm a working class lad, and it's kind of, as much as my mum fed us, she also had to work, so it wasn't uncommon for us to get to Quick Save and buy tubes of frozen pizzas. It's just the way it was then, But anyway, sorry, I'm waffling now.
No. Well, it kind of really sets the scene, absolutely. And so now you're obviously supporting many independent businesses, not only in the East Midlands, but across the country, really, sort of providing them with a little bit of advice and support, going in on a consultancy basis, really, to sort of provide that. And also, I mean, one thing I talk to you about is that there's quite a lot of grants available out there as well to help assist with that as well. And I think all of that is really, up there, and really a fantastic service that you can provide.
Definitely. I think, the grants are great. And I think we touched on this last time we spoke. And I think kind of the realities of, fantastic getting a grant, placing it on a farm or buy some agricultural buildings, fantastic. From my point of view, probably the worst place to have a food production unit is near muck.
For food hygiene, definitely.
The second thing is that it will always be a second skill set, so not a primary skill set. So farmers doing fantastic work farming, brilliant. Ultimately, you're either a kind of a farmer or you're a food producer, and that's primarily what you should be. I don't want to get into a situation where people become kind of jack of all trades, really. I mean, what I would like to do, and I mean, anybody that is looking towards grant funding, it is sometimes a good idea for us to kind of express to you how much you'd expect to pay either a full-time butcher, the volume that you would expect those guys or girls to produce in that period of time to make that business profitable, which is what it comes down to. Exactly. Essentially. So I would like to see grant supplying agencies, if that's the right sort of term for them, engaging with consultants, kind of meat industry consultants, prior to. And I think there's an awful lot of good things. It's just linking them up, I think, is what's being missed. And I think, particularly from the point of view of, I mean, everybody's really well aware of the fantastic work that farmers do. But there really is very little understanding of how that wonderful raw material gets onto shelves or your sort of plate. Even when you're seeing kind of social media, thank your farmer for what you're eating. There's quite a few other people that are involved in, because I mean, as much as I love cattle, they do behave a little better when you're trying to eat them if they've been processed. It'll be a bit chewy and a bit so it is sort of looking and just creating those links between the various different sections of that supply chain a little bit more.
Definitely. And also the equipment is actually really expensive, and I know from coming on your courses just the importance of having decent knives and decent equipment and things, because I know you can just sort of whiz online and buy any old anything, but actually it's a real investment. And if you buy cheap you buy twice, don't you? And I mean, on my kind of wish list, I always remember it when I came on your smoking and curing course, that on my Christmas list every year is a Bradley smoker oven. But they're an amazing piece of kit. I don't know how often I'd use one, and they're a lot of money, but it's kind of like that would be really cool to have that.
Definitely. I mean, I'm working with a Rutland-based company that specialise in carcass cut-ups for farmers. So your carcass will go into either Joseph Morris Abattoir or into Grantham Abattoir. It then gets delivered up to the site up in Rutland. The guys there, with my help currently, cut it up to your specifications, bag it for you, label it for you, and then whoever owns the carcass then sells it on for financial gain. So what we're also looking to do now is to offer a couple of other services, because it is quite a transition to go from ground zero. You know, realistically speaking, if you're going to create a meat business, even a modest sized meat business, that's going to be profitable. The initial capex on that can be, you know, 80 to 100,000 pounds for a modest unit. So to go straight from nothing to that, you've got to know what you're doing. With the guys up at Lawn Farm Foods, we're able to help people transition into that. So as I mentioned, you know, you can put your carcass in one end, it can come out another, packed and ready to go for you to sell on. We can then take sections of that carcass, we can start to help you develop charcuterie products, cooked meat products, biltong, bacon, whatever it is, you know, from that, you can start to have that back. We can also then come on site and advise you how to build your own premises. We can white label an element of those products for you, whilst you take a little bit more of that butchery in-house as well. We can help you talk you through that. And of course, we can also come on site and actually teach you those specific skills. So I've encountered quite a few problems over the years. We've always resolved them. So this is just really a culmination of sorting out problems before they've come one, if you like.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, let's talk a bit about the end product then. So what do you enjoy cooking? You know, what do you like to cook? What's your favourite dish?
Okay, well, it's funny, we're having a discussion with a doctor friend of mine, Dr. Rizwan, fantastic, runs the ICAT clinic, and they have a practice over in Leicester, and we do tend to talk about food and its relationship to functional health as well. He was telling me, I was under the impression that our sort of genetics, if you like, influenced our taste, and therefore after that influenced your gut microbiome, but it's the other way around.
Right.
Now my father's Polish. My father's a Polish refugee. My mum's from middle of Leicester, but we were kind of raised a little bit on a lot of Polish food as well as English stuff, you know, which was quite rare back in the 1970s and 80s. But I like kind of hearty, long cooked things like pot roasts, a lot of pork products. I eat a lot of cabbage, which you could argue is quite an Eastern European thing. Lots of bacon, as you can imagine, smoked meats and so on. But I think for me, a bit of pot roast, brisket of beef or shin of beef in the piece is just a beautiful thing. And just in a pot with a couple of cans of tomatoes, it doesn't have to be difficult. Chop a few onions up, plenty of garlic. Again, this is the Eastern European thing, I think. Plenty of garlic in there, mushrooms, and it doesn't get worse. As long as it doesn't dry out, you can leave that in there for hours and hours and hours. It just gets better. And really, it's kind of the ultimate fast food. You know, I mean, if you've got a bit of time on Sunday, you do a lot more than just enough for one meal. All you need to do then is just come in the next few nights and reheat it. And once you get fed up with stew, then if you stick it in a pastry case, it becomes a pie filling. It just goes on and on and on. And I think, you know, it's a real economic way of cooking. So mussels that have done a bit of work. So you can keep your fillet steaks. It doesn't taste of anything to me. You know, it's got to have done something for a living. You know, that's what creates flavour. You know, you typically find high levels of collagen-rich connective tissue in those pieces as well, which are really good for human function as well. they tend to be a little bit higher in protein as well. So you're getting a real bang for your buck with those sorts of things.
And they're cheaper, aren't they?
Completely, really are. And it's just having that bit of a knowledge. And I think it's a little bit easier for me because a lot of the crossover that I've done sort of moves into kind of hospitality and sort of cookery. So it's a little bit easier for me to get my head around. And because I've produced an awful lot of product, I'm a bit of a stickler in the kitchen at home. It needs to be done properly. But it's just learning some very simple techniques of getting yourself organised. Not everything has to be prepared on the same day. You can do elements of that thing, and it just makes everything a little bit. I believe they call it mise en place. I don't know. It's horrible in a Leicester accent as well. Isn't it? Basically means a bit of pre-prepping, I think.
Yeah.
But just getting that organised, and pretty much you can sort out your meals for a week just on a couple of cooks.
Yeah, definitely. Jacket potato, you probably put it through pasta as well, couldn't you? Yeah, absolutely. Easy. It really is very simple, humble food, and you can feed an army. And also, what's also really good is that even if if you're a busy family and you're not always eating together, one of you could come in and eat, and then the rest of you can eat later because it's just there. You don't have to make several meals or what have you. It's great. So how can people get in touch with you and find out more?
Well, there is a website. I mean, it's great that you got in touch with me at the beginning of the year because I've been waiting for quite a lot of years for people to kind of remedy this broken food supply chain and inequality and everything else. Nobody's done it yet. So I'm having to kind of step up and share some of the solutions that I think will work. So there is a website. We're going to look a little bit more towards getting out there on social media. I know you're going to give us some assistance with this, Milly, as well. So, but yeah, so the website, you can get me through the website. So it's www.summersandco.com/. You can get to us via that, or I'm also on Instagram, not so much on Facebook now. I have to admit, IT is not my first primary skill set, so you can get to me, or just give me a ring. If I don't pick the phone up, I'm either at the wrong end of an animal, or I'm kind of covered in something which prevents me operating a touchscreen phone. I will get back to you, but yeah, I mean, so the phone number and the email address are all on the website. So if you'd like to get in touch, then please do. But I'm really keen to connect with a lot more people this year that share this ethos. In particular, I'm looking to connect with either existing food colleges or businesses that would like to look towards developing more of a formal butchery charcuterie college to get a lot more people skilled up. We've got quite a few people without jobs here, and then we've got a huge skills gap in the sector here. And it's not beyond the wit of man that we can bridge the gap.
Definitely. No, absolutely. Well, Rich's handle is on Insta. It's Summers Rich, so you can find him. He's got some great photos on there anyway. And I'm going to look forward to sort of helping you with that side of the business. That would be fab. Okay, so we've got some time-saving hacks that you can all try at home. I'm always multitasking in the kitchen. I've got the kids around my ankles. I'm making packed lunches. I'm taking calls to my business, and I'm getting the dinner ready at the same time. You can imagine it. I recently came across this little gadget, which has been a revelation to me. I'm not sure what the official name for it is, but it's basically a silicone lid that you put on top of your pans, and it prevents the boil over or the splatters. I've always found when I put my saucepan lid on pasta, potatoes, it always boils over and it makes the kitchen smell horrendous. It's got like a little flower valve on the top, which allows the water to kind of seep through and it doesn't boil over. And it's been a great time-saving hack for me because I can multitask without having to sort of basically hover over the hob in case the pots boil over. It cost me about £8 and I use it several times a week. So for me, I'm a big fan. So I love a few gadgets. I do, and I posted. It's funny actually because I posted about it on Instagram. This little the thing, and it's had like 20,000 views or something. And
Wow.
it's just like a silly little gadget. But I mean, honestly, it's really helped me to kind of multitask, because I think I suppose because the children are young, the downside is I never have the time I would like to prepare a meal. So it just kind of got loads of things on the go at the same time. But anyway, that's just me. In season right now, lamb, lovely lamb. At home, we are currently in the midst of lambing. We've got 300 ewes to lamb, and it's a 24-hour day job to look after everything. Traditionally around Easter time, everyone looks to eat some lamb, and farmers that are dedicated and brave enough will lamb around Christmas time to serve the Easter market. We supply 3 butchers' shops in the area, including Joseph Morris, and our sheep are grazed on grass 365 days of the year. I like to cook a joint of lamb in the bottom oven of our ever hot cooker, low and slow, as they say. Stick it in on a Sunday morning and serve it at tea time. Beautiful. Serve with roast potatoes, cooked with rosemary, sea salt, and rapeseed oils and veggies. You can't beat it. How does that sound, Rich?
That sounds bang on. Yeah, you had me at low and slow and lamb. So
yeah.
Nice.
Oh, it's just beautiful. It's one of those meats that is so, is perhaps not on vogue, as it were, but it's so versatile, isn't it? It's beautiful.
Completely.
I'd like to ask something of everyone at home listening. Who would you like to hear from next on the podcast? What ingredients are you having difficulty getting hold of? What do you enjoy cooking? Drop me a DM on social media, on my social media channels. You can follow me on my page, No Fuss Meals for Busy Parents, or email me at hello@millyfyfe.com. I'd love to hear from you. It's just really nice to get feedback, to get suggestions, rather than it just being all about, the people that I know, or it's just nice to have build that community. That's all we've got time for today. So don't forget to tune into the next episode of the Countryside Kitchen Meets on the 1st of each month. You can subscribe on all major podcast streaming platforms. Thank you so much, Rich, for joining me. It's been amazing.
Thank you for asking. It's always lovely to talk to you.
Yeah, nice. I could talk to you all day, because I think we just bounce off of each other, don't we? Because, there's so much we've got in common. And I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what magic you can do with food and farming businesses around the country.
And likewise,
I think it's going to be wonderful. So
perfect.
Brilliant. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, bye.